A drunk 20-year-old Joseph McGowan, who was from Stockport, had hastily punched in the numbers 999. A dispatcher answered the call and asked, "Is the patient breathing?" Joseph responded, "No, someone choked him out and is not moving." That someone was Joseph McGowan himself, and the victim was his own dad, 51-year-old Darren McGowan. It was accepted that when Joseph had put his dad in a lock and applied pressure to the neck, he had contributed to his dad's death. But when Joseph was found not guilty of the M and a lesser charge of manslaughter, the gallery erupted in applause, meaning, quite frankly, Joseph had got away with murder. Was it an accident, or was the grief knowing you killed your own dad punishment enough? Let me know. Darren was a man that used drink to function. Sadly, he had previously suffered an aneurism a year before he was killed. His marriage to his 2 children's mum had failed, and his business was on the brink of collapsing too. That accumulative stress and angst of knowing that everything you held dear to you was crumbling all around you had changed Darren for the worst. When Joseph's defense team asked a grief-stricken Joseph to describe his relationship with his dad to the jury, Joseph said through quivering lips, "I loved him. We trained together. If my friends didn't want to go out, I would ask my dad. We were just a normal family. We enjoyed spending time together." That was the bare bones of the relationship. A quick summary. Half-true statements to mask the family issues, and there were a lot. The dad was a functioning alcoholic, to say, and Joseph had very real anger issues. Just 5 months prior to Joseph killing his own dad, Joseph had played a major role in a mass brawl in McDonald's at his Wellington Road branch in Stockport town centre. Joseph had spent the evening downing at least 10 points before him and 2 pals had finished the night with some fast food. While in the branch, Joseph and his mates had squared up to another group of people who were older than they had seen earlier. McDonald's CCTV had captured the moment that Joseph had launched himself at multiple men and traded hooks and jabs. CCTV also showed the moment that Joseph had picked up chairs and launched them at his rivals. Now, to be fair, Joseph did not start the incident, but he did take part. Joseph had also on a number of people shortly before 2 p.m. When arrested, Joseph, who was so bladdered, had told police that he had downed 10 points that night and couldn't remember what had started the free-for-all brawl. A McDonald's worker also explained that the incident was so bad that it made them feel physically sick. Now, Joseph, being 19 at the time, had been with 2 friends and they had scrapped with older men, as I said. Joseph was arrested where he spent 7 months on remand, and when he went to court, the judge was ready to impose a sentence. However, the judge decided that he was free to go, as he had already been on remand for 7 months, and that was punishment enough. Now, when the prosecution set out the facts in court for the incident concerning his dad, the prosecution set the tone of an angry young man by stating in 2022 Darren McGowan had suffered an aneurism. Having to listen to the constant arguments between Darren and Joseph's mum, Angela McGowan, Joseph had sent messages to his mum stating, "If I see him," referring to his dad Darren, "I'll snap." 2 weeks before Darren had been killed, Darren and Joseph had got into a heated exchange. Darren had called his own son a PUSS, you know the last letter, in an attempt to humiliate and goad his own son, knowing that it would get under Joseph's skin. Now, Joseph replied by balling a hand into a fist and then swinging at his own dad. The hand connected, and Darren McGowan had been knocked sideways, his head whacking off the windowsill, which caused a bad wound, red pouring. Now, on the date of the M, which was April 30th of 2023, Angela McGowan had finished her shift at the Midway pub. Now, she invited 2 work colleagues to come back to her home, the family home, on Glebe Street in Offerton. Now, Darren was also invited to stay the night. Joseph had come downstairs to join the group over drinks. As the drinks flowed, one of the friends had then puked and they were forced to go home. Angela had then went upstairs to change out of her work clothes and then changed to PJs and a dressing gown. However, Darren had chastised his wife, who was separated from at the time, telling her that she was drunk and embarrassing everyone. Angela responded by saying, "This is my F house." Joseph noticed the rising tension and then decided to take his mum upstairs. According to reports at 2:15 a.m, Joseph had taken a video of the remaining members of the group, which included Darren McGowan. Now, just before Darren McGowan was killed, he went to check on Angela, who by this time was in bed. Now, Darren then made the decision to tell the rest of the group that it was time for everyone to leave, and Joseph retorted and reminded Darren that this was no longer his home. Darren was said to be seething and angry by the statement, and the father and son had then crossed the distance to each other, forehead brushing against forehead, neither person willing to back down. Now, a friend tried to intervene, but it was no use. These two men were shouting over each other. This set the tone. By 7:03 a.m, Darren was unresponsive, unconscious, not moving, and in a bad way, and Joseph was panicking on the phone to emergency services, requesting an ambulance as soon as possible, where he told dispatchers that someone had been out. It was put to the jury that Joseph had lost his temper and ambushed his own dad, striking him again and also putting him in a lock until the point where his body went limp. When police attended the scene, Joseph was panting, flitting between a set of different emotional states, and his top was off. Police documented a number of scratches to his back. Darren, meanwhile, was put in the back of an ambulance and rushed to hospital, where he was declared dead just 3 days later, due to the unsurvivable brain injury. And there was also bruising on his larynx, along with bruising to his eye socket and collarbone, due to being put in a lock. Joseph explained that he never meant to kill his dad, however, and Darren had allegedly tackled Joseph first. The two men fell onto the sofa not once but twice, and according to Joseph, he had panicked. He was scared, as his dad was bigger than him. Literally fighting for his life, Joseph then grabbed onto the first thing that he could, which was his dad's head, and then clamped down. In court, Joseph broke down, and tears were flowing, and miraculously, Joseph McGowan was found not guilty of the M and also manslaughter, and the fact that Darren McGowan had died was nothing more than an accident, despite the two men getting into more than one scrap. Joseph was then told that he was free to go. Of course, after the verdict was read out, Joseph McGowan's friends and family had all erupted into an applause. They were so thankful for the decision. So, the very important question remains, how is it possible to be proven that you killed someone, but also prove it was an accident, despite getting into a physical altercation which was spurred on by not just one person but two? Two people played an active role. And what about Darren McGowan's friends and family? Where is the justice for them? If Darren's parents are still alive, or if he had brothers or sisters, how do they contend with the fact that a person is allowed to walk around freely and continue their lives as if nothing had happened, regardless of Joseph being Darren's son? Let me know your thoughts. Was the right decision made? Stay safe.